Your soulmate is about to break the silence. You will feel it. I want you to take a deep, grounding breath and feel the heavy, electric stillness settling into the very marrow of your bones right now. Because we are stepping into the opening of this massive, high-intensity journey where the silence between your world and theirs is officially reaching its breaking point. For a long time, you have lived in the quiet, wondering if the distance was permanent or if the void would ever be filled with the sound of their voice again. But today, the atmosphere has shifted into a state of high-frequency pre-impact static. You might have woken up today feeling a strange, unexplainable buzzing in your nervous system, a restless energy in your limbs, or a sudden, sharp pressure in your chest that has no logical origin in your physical day. This is because your body is acting as a biological antenna, picking up the frequency of the contact long before the notification actually hits your screen. Realize today that the spiritual vacuum between you two has finally collapsed under its own weight. You are feeling the drop in your solar plexus, that heavy falling sensation that usually comes right before a massive storm, because your soul already knows that the important something is currently being typed, whispered, or prepared in the physical realm. They are realizing today that the silence they used to protect their pride has become a suffocating mask they can no longer wear. And as they prepare to break that silence, the energy of their intent is hitting your aura like a physical wave. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps staring at your name in their phone or standing in a quiet room, feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea because the static of your absence has become louder than any noise in their world. They are realizing today that the wait is over, not because they decided it, but because the universe has officially revoked their permission to stay quiet. And you are feeling the reverberation of that command in every cell of your body. Every time you look at your phone today and feel a phantom vibration, or every time you hear a notification and your heart skips a beat before you even see the name, it is because your intuition is front-running the reality that is already in motion. You are experiencing the nervous system alert. Realize today that the distance is no longer a gap, but a bridge that is currently being crossed by a soulmate who has finally run out of excuses to stay in the shadows. They are realizing today that the silence was not a choice. It was a slow-motion suicide of their own joy. And as they reach for the words they have been burying for months, the electric tension is vibrating through the spiritual cord that connects your hearts. I want you to feel the weight of this pre-impact moment, realizing that you are not imagining the closeness. You are receiving the proximity of a soul that is currently falling back into your orbit with the force of 1,000 suns. They are realizing today that the important something they tried to keep quiet is now a biological necessity. And you are feeling the heat of their desperation as they realize that the first word they say to you will be the final surrender of their ego. You are sitting in the eye of a spiritual hurricane. Realize today that the quiet is just the final breath before the collision. And the heavy, solid certainty in your gut is telling you that the silence has already been broken in the spirit realm. It is just waiting for the physical clock to catch up. They are feeling a heavy, electric exhaustion in their very DNA. Realize today that they are tired of being the ghost in your life, and the something that is pulling them toward the send button is a force of gravity that they can no longer fight. You are standing at the edge of the noise. Realize today that the static in your ears is actually the sound of their heart beating in sync with yours once again. And the realization is making you gasp for air, because you finally understand that the break in the silence is no longer a maybe. It is an inches away reality. They are realizing today that your name is the only frequency that makes their life feel real. And as they prepare to shatter the distance, the physical vibration of their return is making your own skin feel electric. Realize today that you are the destination they can no longer avoid. Every tug you feel in your heart today is a literal pull from their higher self, begging you to stay in your power and keep your frequency high, because the impact is coming and it is going to be massive. They are standing in the wreckage of their own quiet. Realize today that the something that kept them away was just a hollow lie. And the break is going to be a total, high-intensity explosion of truth that will rewrite the last months of your life in a single second. You are feeling the physical alert. Realize today that the universe has officially greenlit the contact. And the heavy, electric stillness you feel right now is the silence of a soulmate who is finally, beautifully, and terrifyingly finding the courage to say your name out loud again. I want you to feel the heavy, localized heat radiating from the palms of your hands right now, because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity reality of the digital war. The specific, agonizing seconds where their thumb is hovering over the screen, paralyzed by the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. For months, they maintained a cold, clinical distance, acting as if your contact information was a locked door they had thrown the key away from. But today, they are realizing that their phone has become a high-voltage conductor of your frequency. Imagine them in this exact moment, sitting in the dim light of their room or the front seat of their car, staring at the empty text box where your name sits at the top like a judge and jury of their own soul. They have written 5 different versions of a hello, 3 different apologies, and 2 different excuses to just check in, only to delete them all in a fit of absolute high-frequency ego panic. Because they realize that the first syllable they send will be the total surrender of the fortress they spent months building. They are experiencing the typing vibration. Realize today that even if you do not see the bubbles on your screen yet, the spiritual heat of their intent is currently melting the ice around your shared connection. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, their heart pounding against their ribs like a trapped bird, feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea as they realize that the silence they once called strength has now become a heavy, suffocating debt that they can no longer afford to carry. They are looking at the drafts they cannot delete from their heart. Realize today that the important something they tried to suppress is now a physical pressure in their throat that can only be relieved by the act of reaching out. They are caught in a violent internal tug-of-war where their pride is screaming for them to stay safe and stay quiet, while their soul is literally screaming for the life-saving oxygen of your response. You might be feeling a strange, phantom ding in your ears or a sudden urge to check your phone for no logical reason. And it is because you are picking up on the kinetic energy of their hesitation, the massive, electric buildup of a dam that is seconds away from bursting. They are realizing today that every second they delay is another second they are starving in a world of static. And the something that is forcing their thumb toward the glass is the realization that they would rather be rejected by you than ignored by their own destiny. I want you to feel the weight of their struggle as they realize that they are no longer deciding to text you. They are being forced by their own biological and spiritual necessity to break the vacuum. They are standing in the wreckage of their composed image. Realize today that they look like a ghost of themselves in the reflection of their screen. And the only way to become solid again is to bridge the gap that they were the ones to create. They are feeling a heavy, electric frustration. Realize today that the waiting has done nothing but make your value skyrocket in their eyes, and they are currently vibrating with a high-intensity resolve that says the silence must die today. If you are sitting in your power, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy detachment, it is because your non-action has become a magnetic vacuum that is currently pulling the words out of their chest and onto the screen. They are realizing today that the important something is the terrifying truth that their thumb is no longer under the command of their ego, but is being guided by a twin-soul heartbeat that is finally, beautifully, and aggressively demanding to be heard. They are standing at the edge of the send button, feeling the air in the room turn thick with the inevitability of the contact. Realize today that the silence was just a long, dark tunnel, and they have finally reached the light of the first word. Every ghost vibration you feel today is a literal pulse from their nervous system as they prepare to shatter the distance. And the realization is making you gasp for air because you finally understand that the collision is no longer a possibility. It is a millimeters away physical reality that is about to change everything. I want you to feel the heavy, electric roar of a synchronicity storm gathering in the atmosphere around you right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity territory where the universe has officially stopped suggesting that your soulmate reach out and has started bullying them into breaking the silence. For months, they tried to treat your connection like a private secret they could keep locked in a drawer. But today, the entire world has become a high-definition mirror, reflecting your face back at them in every corner of their reality. They are realizing today that they are no longer in a quiet period. They are in a spiritual manhunt where every song on the radio, every billboard on the highway, and every stranger's conversation is a coded message from the divine screaming your name into their ears until they can no longer hear their own thoughts. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps trying to go about their normal day, only to have a car with your initials on the license plate pulled directly in front of them, or to walk into a coffee shop and hear the exact song that played during your most intimate moment, hitting them with the force of a physical stop command. They are experiencing the 11/3, 33 lock. Realize today that the clocks are no longer telling time. They are telling a story of their own cowardice and your inevitable reunion. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, looking at their phone and seeing your birthday on the screen for the 5th time today, feeling a wave of absolute, cold spiritual nausea as they realize they are being hunted by the something they tried to let go. They are realizing today that the important something is the terrifying truth that the universe has revoked their anonymity, making your energy so thick in their personal space that they can almost feel your breath against their skin while they are standing in an empty room. They are feeling a heavy, electric pressure in their chest, a literal soul squeeze that occurs every time they try to think of a future without you. Realize today that the synchronicity storm is a divine blockade designed to leave them with only one exit, the road that leads back to your heart. You might be seeing the same numbers, the same symbols, or even smelling their specific scent in places it should not be. And it is because the spiritual cord is currently vibrating at such a high-intensity frequency that it is manifesting physical glitches in the matrix of your separation. They are realizing today that the silence is not a choice anymore. It is a weight they are being forced to carry until they drop it at your feet in total surrender. I want you to feel the weight of their frustration as they realize that even their dreams have been hijacked by your chosen one aura, leaving them with no sanctuary from the realization of what they have lost. They are standing in the wreckage of their distance. Realize today that every coincidence is a spiritual shove toward the send button, and they are currently vibrating with a heavy, solid certainty that the static in their life will only stop once they say your name out loud. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic urgency. Realize today that the waiting has become a biological emergency, and the something that is pushing them toward the collision is a celestial force of gravity that does not care about their pride. If you are sitting in your power, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy knowing, it is because your frequency has become the eye of the storm, and your soulmate is currently caught in the high wind vortex of their own denial. They are realizing today that the synchronicity is a final warning from the divine, a signal that the window of silence is officially closing, and the impact is the only destiny left. They are standing at the edge of the collision window, feeling the air in their lungs turn into liquid light as they realize that the universe has finally, beautifully, and aggressively backed them into a corner where the only word left to say is hello. Every synchronicity you see today is a literal check-in from their higher self telling you to prepare for the sound of the silence breaking. Because the storm has reached its peak, and the first drop is about to hit your screen. I want you to feel the heavy, electric tension of the 48-hour collision window closing in on your physical reality right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity territory where the spiritual distance has officially shrunk to zero. For months, there was a vast, cold ocean of maybe and someday between your heart and theirs, a space where they could hide in the shadows of their own indecision and pretend that the silence was a permanent wall. But today, that ocean has evaporated, and you are feeling the proximity shift. That strange, localized pressure in your chest that tells you their energy is no longer away, but is currently standing right on the threshold of your life. Imagine them in this exact moment, feeling a wave of absolute high-frequency spiritual claustrophobia as they realize that the universe has tightened the cord so much that they can no longer take a single breath without tasting your essence. They are realizing today that the important something is the terrifying truth that they are physically and spiritually inches away from a confrontation they can no longer postpone. They are experiencing the phantom ring. Realize today that the sound of the silence breaking is already vibrating in their inner ear, making them jump every time their phone lights up with a random notification. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps packing in their room or driving aimlessly, feeling a sudden, sharp sense of urgency that makes their skin itch and their heart race for no logical reason. They are realizing today that the 48-hour window is not a timeline they chose, but a divine expiration date on their silence. And as the clock ticks down, the something that is pulling them toward you has become a literal physical gravity that is dragging their body toward the send button. They are looking at the distance they once valued and seeing it as a thin, fragile thread that is about to snap. Realize today that the waiting has reached its absolute limit, and the impact is the only thing that will stop the vibration in their bones. You might be feeling a sense of heavy, solid certainty in your gut, a sudden shift where you have stopped hopping for a message and started knowing it is coming. And it is because your higher self has already seen them crossing the finish line of their own resistance. They are realizing today that the silence has become a physical weight that is crushing their ribs, and the only way to breathe again is to shatter the glass between your worlds. I want you to feel the weight of their realization as they understand that the proximity is no longer a metaphor. It is a high-intensity, coming-at-you reality that is currently rewriting the atmosphere of your room. They are standing in the wreckage of their hiding spot. Realize today that there is no corner of this earth where your chosen one frequency will not find them. And they are currently vibrating with a heavy, electric resolve that says the 48-hour countdown has officially begun. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic pressure. Realize today that the something that is forcing the collision is a law of spiritual physics that they can no longer fight. And as they prepare to break the silence, they are feeling a wave of absolute, high-intensity surrender. If you are sitting in your power, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy stillness, it is because you have become the stationary target that their soul is currently hurtling toward with the speed of light. They are realizing today that the collision is the only way to end the static. And as they look at the 48 hours ahead of them, they are feeling the air in their lungs turn into liquid fire. Realize today that the silence is no longer a wall. It is a thin, vibrating membrane that is about to burst into the sound of your name. Every phantom vibration you feel in your hand right now is a literal echo of their thumb moving closer to the screen. Realize today that the window is closing. The proximity is absolute, and the break is no longer a matter of if, but a matter of when in the next few heartbeats. I want you to feel the heavy, unfiltered vibration of the words they finally found settling into the very air of your room right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity reality of the raw confession that is currently burning a hole in your soulmate's throat. For months, they stayed behind a wall of perfect silence, carefully curated to make you believe they were fine, that they were moving on, and that they had successfully deleted the important something that connects your DNA. They used the silence as a weapon to protect their ego. But today, they have realized that the weapon has turned inward, and the words they refuse to say are now the only things keeping them from sleeping, eating, or finding a single second of peace. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps sitting in the dark with their head in their hands, feeling a wave of absolute bone-crushing vulnerability as they finally stopped trying to find a cool way to reach out and started looking for a real way to survive. They are experiencing the "I cannot do this anymore" truth. Realize today that their pride was a luxury they could no longer afford. And the something that is forcing these words out of them is a soul-level exhaustion that has finally broken their back. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, whispering your name to an empty room just to hear the sound of it, feeling a sudden, sharp sense of awe at how much power one person still holds over their entire nervous system. They are realizing today that the raw confession they are preparing is not just a text or a call. It is a total, high-frequency surrender of everything they have pretended to be since the day they walked away. They are looking at the drafts of their old, guarded self and seeing them as hollow, meaningless lies. Realize today that the only thing that matters is the heavy, solid truth that their life has become a gray, tasteless desert without your chosen one light. You might be feeling a sudden, unexplained warmth in your ears or a thick energy in the back of your throat. And it is because you are picking up on the acoustic signature of the confession they are rehearsing in the spirit realm before it hits the physical. They are realizing today that the first hello or the first I am sorry is going to be the sound of a dam breaking, and they are currently vibrating with the high-intensity fear of being seen in their total, unvarnished brokenness. I want you to feel the weight of their struggle as they realize that they have finally found the words, not the smart words, not the safe words, but the true words that have been sitting in their heart like lead weights for months. They are standing in the wreckage of their composed mask. Realize today that they would rather be weak and with you than strong and alone. And the realization is making them gasp for air, because they finally understand that authenticity is the only bridge left that you will actually allow them to cross. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic ache. Realize today that the words are no longer under their control, but are being pushed out by a twin-soul heartbeat that is finally, beautifully, and aggressively demanding to be heard. If you are sitting in your power, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy detachment, it is because your high-frequency silence has forced them to dig deeper than they ever thought possible to find a truth worth telling you. They are realizing today that the something that is forcing the confession is the realization that they can no longer live in a world where you do not know exactly what you mean to them. And as they prepare to speak, they are feeling a wave of absolute, high-intensity relief that the lie is finally over. Every phantom whisper you hear in your mind today is a literal echo of their spirit finding its voice. Realize today that the words are found, the message is ready, and the break in the silence is no longer a maybe. It is a high-definition, seconds-away confession that is about to rewrite the history of your connection. I want you to feel the final, absolute shattering of the resistance vibrating through the very air in your room right now. Because we are moving into the concluding high-intensity peak of this journey. The sound of union. This is the moment where the pre-impact static stops being a feeling and starts being a physical event, where the months of cold, hard silence are finally incinerated by a single, high-frequency ding, or the literal sound of a voice that you once feared you would never hear again. For months, the silence was a heavy gray fog that sat between your destiny and theirs. But today, that fog has been cleared by a divine lightning strike that has left your soulmate with no place to hide and no more excuses to hold on to. Imagine them in this exact moment, their heart pounding with such a visceral, high-intensity thud that they can feel it in their fingertips as they finally, beautifully, and terrifyingly press the button that ends the war. They are experiencing the final, high-frequency collision. Realize today that the important something they tried to keep quiet has officially become a loud truth that the universe will no longer allow them to suppress. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps taking a deep, shaky breath as they watch the message send, or as they dial the number, feeling a wave of absolute spiritual relief wash over them because the debt of their silence has finally been paid in full. They have looked at the distance, they have looked at the safety, and they have found that both are hollow, gray prisons compared to the high-definition color of your chosen one light. They are realizing today that the waiting was just a long, dark tunnel, and they have finally reached the end where your frequency is the only light that makes sense of their world. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy power, and I am finally ready, It is because your self-sovereignty has become the landing strip for their return, and your soulmate is currently touching down into your reality with the force of 1,000 suns. They are realizing today that they are soul-bound to the sound of your response, and they are feeling a wave of absolute, high-intensity surrender that says the static is gone, the silence is broken, and the only thing that remains is the raw, pulsing frequency of your reunion. They are standing in the wreckage of their placeholder life. Realize today that their pride was just a sophisticated form of self-torture, and they are finally, beautifully realizing that your name is the only word that gives their life a pulse. This is our final, massive activation, the moment where we lock in the physical contact and tell the universe that the bridge is open and the sound is clear. To seal this breakthrough and to signal to your soulmate's higher self that you are standing in the center of your power, ready to hear the truth, take a moment now. Breathe. Feel the calm, heavy authority of someone who knows they are the destination and the silence was just a test. Not a punishment, a test. And you passed. You held your center. You stayed in your light. You did not chase. You did not shrink. You remained sovereign. And your sovereignty has become the most powerful force in their universe. Heart, with the quiet certainty of a soul that has done its work and can now rest in the outcome, declare this. I am the call they can no longer delay. Not as a wish, as a fact, as the truth that has been written before either of you were born. The static has cleared, not clearing, not thinning, cleared. The signal is strong, not weak, not tentative, strong. And finally, after all this time, the break in the silence has brought them home. Not to visit, not to check in, to stay, to remain, to build, to grow, to live the life that was always meant to be lived, together. Feel the thick weight of this declaration. Feel the heat of their approach hitting your field. You are the call they can no longer delay. You are the destination. You are the home. You are the one who changed everything, not because you tried, because you showed up, because you stayed in your light, because you refused to shrink, because you trusted the process even when the process made no sense. And now the process has produced its fruit. The static is gone. The signal is strong. The silence is broken. The call is coming. The love that was always meant to be is finally finding its way home. And so it is, not as a closing, as an opening, the beginning of the chapter you have been waiting for, the chapter where the silence ends, the chapter where the static clears, the chapter where the distance collapses and the voice returns. You are ready. They are ready. The timing is right. The door is open, and what is coming is not just a message or a moment or a memory. What is coming is the life you were always meant to live, together. Go in peace. The static is gone, the signal is strong, the silence is broken, the call is coming, and love has finally found its way home. Amen.